My college roommate wants me to cover for him so he can cheat on his girlfriend, but our room is split on following bro code and being an alibi or just telling his girlfriend where he is, and I don't know which side to be on. I, 21M, have known my friend Matt, 21M, since we started college. We're in the same program and have been roommates since day one. Overall, I'd say Matt is a great guy, however, he has a terrible tendency to cheat. Throughout college, I think Matt had 5 to 7 different girlfriends, and each of those relationships ended because he would cheat. Back in January, he started dating his current girlfriend, Jen, 21F, and has been with her far longer than any of the previous relationships. From my interactions with Jen, I know she's a wonderful person. She's very polite, beautiful, and clearly devoted to Matt. For the past few weeks, Matt has also developed a close relationship with his anatomy lab partner, Cindy, 21F. It's become pretty clear to me and my other housemates, Kyle 21, Robert 22, and Omar 20, that there is some romantic relationship between them. We've even all met Cindy as she came by our house a few times. Long story short, Matt has told me and the other guys that things between him and Cindy are moving fairly quickly and that Jen is completely in the dark about this. He told us that, for the foreseeable future, he'll be spending a few nights hanging out at Cindy's place. Here's the issue, Jen and her roommates don't live that far from us, about a 7-minute walk. So there's a good chance she'll come by looking for him, according to Matt. Therefore, he wants us all to make excuses for his absences and potentially reassure Jen that he isn't up to anything bad. Kyle and Robert are fully on board with this, as they consider it the bro code. Omar is fully against this, and while he has not said he'd tell Jen, he has refused to lie for Matt and has been urging him to end things with Cindy. I would say I'm more neutral. I don't think what Matt's doing is appropriate, but I don't think it's my place to tell Matt how to manage his relationships. I told him that while I wouldn't seek Jen out and tell her what's going on, I wouldn't lie to her either about where he is and instead say I don't know. We all argued about this for a while, and the general gist of things is that Kyle, Robert, and Matt all think I'm being a bit of a jerk for not being more cooperative. Aside from this, I don't think there is really much I can do. Moving to somewhere else is both economically and logistically unfeasible, so I think trying to avoid stirring the pot is my best bet. Am I the jerk here? Commenter. Your roommates are trash people. Treating women like subhuman objects. A real man would just end the relationship. Commenter 2. I hope Omar tells her she deserves better and the rest of you all deserve each other. Update 1. I'll start this update by saying Jen found out last night. Like Matt predicted, she came over to our house Tuesday evening. I saw her pretty quickly since I was also coming back from buying some food. She asked me if I knew where Matt was, and I said I didn't know, because I genuinely didn't know at the time. She mentioned how he wasn't responding to her texts and that she was worried about him, and I felt pretty bad hearing that. Kyle, who were inside, came out at this point and said that Matt was in his anatomy lab and then reassured her that he'd contact her once he was finished. She didn't seem entirely satisfied with that answer but thanked us anyway and left. Once she was gone, Kyle told me that Matt was actually on a date with Cindy. Since Matt sometimes brings Cindy over, he'll text the house group chat before they come over to ensure that Jen isn't around. He did this on Tuesday night, and Kyle did alert him that Jen had stopped by looking for him, so he stayed over with Cindy on Tuesday night. Wednesday evening, only Omar and I are home. Kyle was with his own GF, and Robert had an exam. Around 7 p.m., we got a text on the group chat from Matt saying he plans on bringing Cindy over around 8:30, and he asked if Jen came by. I told him that I hadn't seen her, and things went on as usual. I'll add that Omar has refused to respond to these specific text messages from Matt, so there was an expectation on me to clarify if Jen was here or not. A little after 8 p.m., Jen comes by with one of her friends, Carly F21. They asked us where Matt was since Jen hadn't been seeing him a lot lately. Before I could even say anything, Omar told them to come back after 8:30, and Matt should be home. They left, and I did argue with Omar about his decision to tell them to come back since it was inevitably going to cause drama, but he didn't care. I did text Matt and told him about Jen potentially returning, but since he was driving, he didn't read the message. At this stage, I gave up trying to contact Matt and went up to my room. A little after 8:30, Matt walked in with Cindy, and not that long afterward, Jen and Carly returned. Omar let them in. Long story short, there was a lot of Jen yelling and Matt lying and apologizing. I didn't bother coming down since I could hear it all from my room. After about 10 minutes of this, Jen and Carly left. Matt sent Cindy home after this and was pretty pissed at what happened. I reminded him that I sent text messages, which he now saw, and Omar played dumb, acting like he didn't see Matt's message about him asking if Jen was home but confirmed to him that he told Jen to come back after the first time she came because he didn't think Matt was dumb enough to go out with Cindy 2 nights back to back. Robert and Kyle came home after this point and I filled them in with what happened. There was definitely some tension in the house this morning as Matt thinks this all could have been avoided had Omar been more helpful. He also partially blames Cindy for wanting to come over so often. Overall, Matt doesn't really seem to care that Jen found out and broke things off with him. He said that he'll try apologizing one more time, as he does prefer Jen to Cindy, and if she doesn't accept, he'll leave things as they are. As for Cindy, Matt has already told Kyle, Robert, and me this morning that he plans on ending things with her after the December exam season. He says that he wants to be single again by New Year so he can have a fresh start. Kyle and Robert think this is pretty hilarious considering how much trouble he got into to be with her. Things have ended more smoothly than I thought, and I have made it abundantly to Matt to keep me out of his relationship woes. I have also asked Carly how Jen was holding up this morning as we share a class together. As expected, Jen was very upset about the entire ordeal, and she and her friends consider everyone at our house aside from Omar to be complicit and awful. Quick update, Kyle texted the group chat, his GF knows and she isn't happy. Commenter: Matt thinks this all could have been avoided had Omar been more helpful. Or, maybe, just maybe, if Matt didn't cheat on his girlfriend? Update 2. I've been receiving a lot of DMs from people wondering how things turned out after the big reveal, so here's a quick recap. Jen did not accept Matt's apology. She has indicated that she, in fact, never wants to see him again. Matt is still with Cindy, and he still plans on breaking up with her after exam season. According to him, Cindy is starting to feel pretty secure now that Matt is no longer with Jen and has expressed her desire to form a serious relationship with him. While he does feel a bit guilty, he thinks it's best for both of them that he ends things with her before New Year's. Despite feeling guilty, Matt has attempted to reactivate his Tinder account, but Kyle made him take it down. Kyle thinks it's too soon for Matt to do this since someone we know is bound to see him there, and according to Kyle, Matt needs to play up the angle that he's heartbroken about falling out with Jen. Kyle has smoothed things over with his girlfriend by claiming he had no idea Matt was cheating. Robert backed him up on this and expressed that nobody aside from Matt knew. While I did plan on telling Carly the truth about what was going on, considering how quickly Matt, Kyle, and Robert have been moving, I opted against this. Instead, I've told Carly that I also did not know about Matt's cheating. Yes, it's a lie, but since I was against Matt cheating, I don't think it's fair for me to go down with the ship, considering that both Kyle and Robert are getting off relatively scot-free. Apparently, I was convincing enough, as Carly told me that while she herself doesn't think I'm so bad, Jen will need time to process what went down, so it's best to give her space. Again, I get it isn't the most appropriate measure, but I really don't think I deserve to be in the splash zone. Omar has expressed his strong disappointment in all of us, but at this stage his voice has become ambient noise, according to Kyle. Since I'm fortunately visiting my parents this weekend, I get to be away from the drama and hopefully any potential fallout. Also, since it's relatively earlier, we'll have to wait and see if anything else happens. But I hope, pray, the worst is over. Commenter: all of you dudes besides Omar are complete and total garbage. I hope you have the love lives you deserve. Update 3. For those wondering why I haven't posted another update, I was busy with exams. However, things have largely calmed down. Omar is doing alright. We're not ostracizing him or anything. All he has is bad exam anxiety, despite consistently getting good marks. We went out to celebrate his birthday a few nights ago, and this did help us all de-stress. According to Carly, Jen is still very upset about what happened with Matt. However, fortunately, she's less depressed about it now and feels anger towards Matt more than anything else, according to Carly. As for Matt himself, he still claims to be on course to dump Cindy sometime in the near future, as he has remained adamant about being single by the new year. Matt and Kyle claim that it is fair considering the role that Cindy played in all of this, but I'm not so sure. Either way, I'll be staying out of whatever Matt has planned. Kyle has pretty successfully smoothed things over with his own GF. For a bit, it did look like she wanted to take a break from him since she did hear about him telling Jen that Matt was in his lab instead of with Cindy. She was suspicious, but he did reiterate to her that he had no idea Matt was cheating. Robert helped him with this, and they have successfully put the entire thing on Matt. Matt is okay with this as he does now admit some responsibility, but he only made this admission after Omar essentially had to spell it out for him. Aside from this, not much is happening since everyone is mainly focused on their exams. Update 4. So, there have been a few developments since my last post. Before you ask, no, I haven't told Kyle's girlfriend anything for obvious reasons. Firstly, I don't want to ruin my housing situation. Second, it'd be my word against Kyle's, Matt's, and Robert's, so she probably wouldn't believe what I have to say. Also, I've started seeing a new girl myself, and things are going smoothly. Snitching on Kyle would probably ruin that as well. I asked Omar privately if he was going to blow the whistle on Kyle, but he didn't give me a particularly straightforward answer. He's hard to read, so I don't know what he'll do. Kyle has begged him not to say anything, so we'll see how that holds. I'm guessing Omar has probably already told the girl he likes about the entire situation. They act like a married couple despite not really dating, so if he knows, she probably knows as well, which does put Kyle at some risk of being found out, but this is only speculation and not my problem. Matt's plan to dump Cindy and be single by the new year has completely fallen apart. As you may recall, Cindy is Matt's lab partner, and the anatomy class they're taking is a full-year course. As Omar so smugly pointed out, Matt wants the anatomy professor to write him a ref letter eventually, since he has done prior research with this professor and is doing well in his class, and if he were to have a conflict with his lab partner, that might spoil the letter. Omar has been throwing this constantly in Matt's face by saying things like how Matt needs to pretend to love Cindy even though he isn't capable of love and how he can't be a hoe anymore because it will affect his academics. He says all this jokingly, but it is hilarious considering how worked up Matt gets. Jen and Carly are doing alright. I saw them before leaving campus the other day, and we spoke briefly. I've heard that Jen is starting to reconnect with her ex, the guy before Matt. Before you ask, she didn't cheat on this guy with Matt. She got with Matt a few months after she and the guy ended things. Hopefully, she finds happiness there. Since our winter break has started, we'll all be headed our separate ways for most of the break. I do plan on hanging out with the guys a few times, though for now, as much as I love tea, I need a break from their drama. Update 5. Unsurprisingly, Matt has cheated again on his newest GF Cindy. I use the term GF loosely because realistically Matt only stayed with Cindy because he needed a recommendation letter from a certain professor and didn't want issues in the class he shared with her. Cindy was essentially a placeholder, and since Matt no longer needs that letter, lucky him, he's more or less done with her. He went on quite a tirade about how annoying and clingy she is and again mentioned how he still prefers his previous GF, Jen, to her. Matt revealed this information, during a completely unrelated conversation, to me and one of my other roommates, Omar, last night. The two of us had no idea this was going on as Matt has been more secretive about whom he tells his relationship info since the last time he cheated. Our other roommate Kyle told us that he has known about Matt cheating on Cindy for almost 2 weeks now. He and Matt are besties. I'm not sure if our other roommate Robert, who wasn't here last night when we're having this chat, knows about Matt cheating yet again. I didn't bother asking Matt or Kyle if he knew. Of course, Cindy has no clue that Matt's been unfaithful, nor does Kyle's own GF, Olivia, know that Kyle's been essentially helping Matt cheat on Cindy. I kinda knew Olivia wouldn't know for obvious reasons, but I didn't want Kyle to confirm this with me. The only reason I got this confirmation was because Omar stupidly asked Kyle, does Olivia know? Realistically, Omar knew damn well that Olivia wouldn't know. She didn't know last time Kyle covered for Matt, but I guess he wanted to burden us with this information for whatever reason. Omar then asked Matt if he was going to break up with Cindy, and Matt only responded by saying eventually, yes. I asked Matt what he meant by this, and he clarified that he wanted to be done with Cindy by reading week, about 2 weeks away. For those wondering, I'm still here for 3 more months until my lease is up. Update 6. Nobody should expect me to march over to Jen and Carly's house and tell them and all their other roommates that I knew Matt was cheating on Jen for weeks before he got found out. I have a pretty good reputation and don't want to needlessly damage that. You're free to call it cowardice, but I think it's pretty pointless to go talk to Jen since she has largely moved on. I truly hope she's in a better place. Carly and I still have a few classes together this semester and she generally has a very good opinion of me. We share notes pretty often and I know that telling her would make her disappointed. Third, nobody in our house has any intentions of telling Cindy that Matt is actively cheating on her. We are all pretty busy dealing with exams, assignments, and interview prep to worry about that. I however told Matt firmly that he needed to stop playing games and at least try and hold down a serious relationship after the Cindy saga ends. He said he would heed my advice, but I don't really believe him. Fourth, Kyle's GF Olivia doesn't know about how he's helping Matt cheat on Cindy. Omar did tell him that he should probably come clean about that before it bites him in the ass later. Robert on the other hand told Kyle that telling Olivia is madness since she may react as if Kyle was the one cheating. Obviously, Matt also doesn't want Kyle to tell Olivia anything. Lastly, I don't expect Omar to run around spilling tea like most people think. He's got enough on his plate between schoolwork, interviews and prepping for Ramadan. However, I will admit there is a small chance the girl he likes, Sarah, knows about our situation and may tell Olivia. Kyle does worry about that. Update 7. The second term at uni is finally starting to wrap up now. I had a few stressful midterms, but for the most part, things seem to be calming down a bit. I only have about 1.5 months left on my lease and then I'll be able to leave all my roommate drama in the past as this is our last year of undergrad. Just a few days ago, Matt told me and the other guys that he had finally dumped Cindy. It came a bit late as I remember him saying something about being done with her by reading week, which ended on February 25th. He admitted that he kept her along partially for his lab class. Now only a few more lab sessions remain in the term and most of them are independent work according to Matt. Supposedly, Cindy is distraught, though since she knew about Matt's antics beforehand, I hope she had the foresight to mentally prepare for this outcome. At least she doesn't know she was cheated on. Since dumping Cindy, Matt has started seeing a new girl. So far he claims to like her, but since he's likely going to move this summer, to attend med school, the relationship already has a predetermined expiry date. Omar asked him if the girl knew what she was signing up for and Matt gave a lame answer about not knowing the future and how she might prefer this sort of arrangement. Omar was a bit annoyed by this and told Matt that he was behaving like a jerk. I agreed with Omar and told Matt that he was probably already lining up potential affair partners. He denied this and said that if things went well enough, he'd be open to trying a long-distance relationship, assuming he moves out of province. All of us called BS on this, even Kyle and Robert. Speaking of Kyle, he has still not told Olivia about how he's been helping Matt cheat. Olivia is pretty friendly with Omar's so-called future wife, Sarah, so maybe she tells Olivia, Ike. Kyle is worried about this outcome and asked Omar to help with damage control if this does happen. Omar has refused and claims he can't lie since he's fasting these days. He thinks that Kyle should just tell her so that way she'll maybe appreciate the transparency. Robert warned Kyle against this and said that it would probably just create drama and stress for him. I've been telling my own GF some of what's been going on, and she has expressed to me several times that she doesn't like Matt, or Kyle lol. Between all the papers she writes for her courses and prepping for the LSAT she'll be writing in the late summer, she's got enough to worry about. But she did tell me that she'd like me to be firmer with Matt, so I've been calling out his problematic behavior more often. The last thing I'll add is that Jen is thankfully in a better place now. Carly told me that Jen started talking with a new guy a few weeks ago, so hopefully, that works out well for her. Funnily enough, Matt knows this as well and seems bothered by it, but there isn't much he can do about it aside from coping, I guess. Update 8. It has been some time since my last post and many people have been sending me DMs asking me how things regarding the Matt situation have played out. I've only been on Reddit sporadically since classes have ended, but have decided to give those wondering one final update. Like I've said before, I never wanted to roll myself into other people's drama. I was a spectator and a lot of the stuff that went down over the past year was not caused by me. Therefore, since summer started I've been largely staying out of people's drama since I no longer live with drama-causing people. However, I still know somewhat about what other people are up to based on social media and just chatting with them from time to time. Also, since I forgot the password of my original Reddit account, I've started using this one as my main. As such, I've deleted my previous posts as a precaution and will delete this one as well. I will also no longer be responding to any DMs. Here's just a quick recap of what's been happening since my last post. I can happily say that after a pretty chaotic school year, things have settled down. We all completed our exams at the end of April, and our lease ended, so the boys and I returned our keys and headed off for a well-deserved summer vacation. Since then, I've been largely chilling. Undergrad is done, hallelujah, and since I've been accepted into med school, this summer has been the most relaxed one I've had since my high school days. Honestly, there are few things in life nicer than waking up whenever you feel like, playing video games late at night, or chilling with friends and not talking about school stuff. I don't have to do any bizarre research about some random ass cytokines or do some weird health volunteering project. I just get to relax and enjoy myself, and I'm extremely grateful for that. I also bought a new car, which was also exciting. While I've been largely indulging myself to make sure I'm fully rested for med school, things for my GF things have been a bit more stressful. She's preparing for her LSAT, which she's writing in August. I'm sure she'll do fine, but nonetheless, she's stressed out. We did travel to Halifax a little while ago so that she could visit some friends, and that trip was surprisingly fun. Kyle and Matt have also gotten into med school and like me have been taking things easy. Matt actually ended up getting into quite a few offers, so he's off to his dream school in late August. Predictably since then, he's been all over Bumble and Hinge. He claims to have evolved past Tinder, but he's still largely up to the same antics. He also swears he start and stay in a commitment relationship once he starts med school, but I'm not going to hold my breath. Kyle and I only got one acceptance, but who's counting? All three of us are going to different schools. Kyle seems to have come clean to Olivia about his involvement with Matt cheating on Jen. Olivia and Sarah are kinda besties, and Omar tells Sarah essentially everything, so Kyle was worried Sarah would tell Olivia a greatly exaggerated version of events, or so he said. I learned this all from speaking with Robert back in May. Kyle was able to control the narrative and Olivia was upset for a while but decided to look past it since she wanted to maintain that relationship. Also, since Kyle's school is out of province, she wanted their transition to long distance to be smooth. Omar, unfortunately, was not accepted this cycle. Instead, he's pursuing a course-based master's program. I'm sure he'll do well since he's a hard worker, and I imagine he'll get med admissions next year. However, right now he's probably dealing with the most drama of any of us, but I'll get into that later. Robert is also doing a master's, though it is a thesis-based one. He likes that sort of thing, random ass cytokines, though you couldn't pay me to do something like that. Carly is off to med school in the US. She's kinda a high-strung person, so she's been stressing a lot about moving there, tuition costs and the general safety of living in the States. We text and talk pretty regularly. NGL, though I feel like sometimes her anxiety is contagious. Just listening to her vent makes me nervous sometimes, lol. From speaking with her, I was able to learn a lot about the future plans of many of our classmates and friends, including Jen. From what Carly told me, Jen plans on taking the following year off before coming back to school. However, the most interesting thing she's told me was that apparently Omar and Sarah are having some sort of relationship issue. Rumor has it that Sarah is getting very frustrated that Omar hasn't proposed to her or something. I didn't think their relationship was that serious since it's not like they really dated or anything, but I digress. Omar doesn't want that sort of responsibility right now while he's still a student, and this has made Sarah very annoyed. NGL, this was probably the most interesting thing I heard in the past few years since Omar is the most reserved person I've ever met. I was curious, so I asked Kyle if he knew anything since Olivia and Sarah are close, and he said that it checked out. Cindy has essentially fallen off the face of the planet. Some people say she's returning for another year. This would explain why nobody saw her at our recent graduation ceremony. I do know from Matt that she attempted to reach out to him a few times since their breakup, but he's ignored all her messages. I do kinda feel bad for her. Speaking about graduation, it was recent and Matt and Jen actually saw each other face to face for the first time in like 6 months. He said hi to her and she returned his greeting but didn't speak much after that. I honestly have a lot of respect for Jen. She handled herself with class and composure, unlike Cindy. I still think Matt is a moron for giving up what was clearly a good thing for someone like Cindy. But yeah, that's how things shaped up. I'm glad undergrad is done and I feel like while situations like this were uncomfortable they made me more mature. Update 9. Even though it's been over a year since I last mentioned my older roommates, I still get many DMs asking how the situation turned out. As we all headed our separate ways, things largely fizzled out after the 23-24 school year, and I was no longer directly involved with Matt's mess. However, since I did see Matt among a few others recently, Kyle and some other guys from undergrad, I don't think I've mentioned. Neither Rob or Omar attended. I've decided to make one more update to address the DMs I've been receiving. I've finished my first year of med school, and while it had its challenges, overall I enjoyed it. I've made lots of new friends, stayed in touch with old ones, and learned a ton. Since my school is only a few hours' drive from home, I was able to visit fairly often. Being nearby also meant I could spend plenty of time with my GF, which honestly made the year feel a lot easier. She recently completed her final year of undergrad and is getting ready to begin law school soon. Matt is also doing alright. His med school experience sounds fairly similar to mine. We're not at the same school, so I've only seen him 3 times since we moved out of our undergrad place, most recently just last week. His dating life is still a bit of a disaster. He's a little wiser now, at least in the sense that he hasn't gotten involved with any classmates. From what I know, he only cheated twice over the past year, which might actually be a record low for him in the time I've known him. He says one incident was a genuine lapse where he fell into temptation. The other, he insists, didn't really count because they weren't exclusive yet. Both girls ended up cutting things off. For those wondering, his long history of cheating has more or less closed the door on dating anyone near our social circle. It's been that way for a while now. TBH, his reputation was bad for a while, and I never fully understood why Jen got involved with him in the first place. He's currently single. Kyle, who I also saw, is doing pretty well too. He left the province for med school, so he and Olivia couldn't see each other often. Eventually, he broke up with her, saying the long-distance thing was too difficult. This was back around winter break, and since then, both of them have moved on. Kyle has been seeing someone new for a few months now, though I haven't met her. He says it's going well. Olivia, as far as I know, is single. The person from undergrad I've kept up with the most is Carly. She's in med school in the US and isn't enjoying it. I haven't seen her since winter break, and despite the distance, she's somehow more in the loop about everyone than I am. Most of the stuff I hear nowadays comes through her. The most notable thing she told me is that while Olivia was sad about her breakup with Kyle, nearly all of her friends were relieved. They thought Olivia had been putting in way more effort than Kyle deserved. Honestly, I think they had a point. Sarah and Omar also didn't last, as they each had different goals. Sarah is starting dental school in the fall, at, funnily enough, the same school Kyle is attending for med. Since she's close to Olivia, she's apparently kind of grossed out about potentially seeing him there. Omar's still finishing up his master's. He got rejected from med school again, which is frustrating, and I honestly don't get why. His grades are excellent, he's got good research, and he has relevant volunteer work, but I guess that's why the schools say even qualified applicants can get turned away regularly. He's disillusioned with the whole process, and when we last talked around Easter, he was seriously thinking about applying to med overseas. Robert's still working away at his 2-year master's. For whatever reason, he's obsessed with the most boring research topics, and last time we talked, he mentioned that he was thinking about doing a PhD afterwards. Other than that, he's been keeping a pretty low profile. He's spoken to me a few times but hasn't really talked to Matt or Kyle since we all moved out. He did say he regrets not stepping in when Matt kept cheating on his GFS, and that if he were in the same position again, he'd handle it differently. I guess you could say that I feel the same. Looking back, I probably could have done more, not just with Matt and Jen, but also during earlier situations when he cheated on previous GFS. Speaking of Jen, she's working as a research assistant and is planning to go back to school eventually for a master's or something along those lines. I haven't seen her since we graduated, and all of this is info I got through Carly. That said, Jen seems to be doing fine and is still with the guy she met near the end of our last year of undergrad. TBH, I really think things worked out well for her. She's got a wonderful personality, and to be with someone who doesn't respect that just didn't seem right. Cindy is still finishing undergrad. Robert's seen her a few times since his grad program is at our old school. It seems like Matt breaking up with her may have taken a toll academically, at least that's what Rob thinks, because she didn't graduate with the rest of us. Rob said that every time he sees her, she looks depressed, which I'm guessing is the main reason he feels guilty. Maybe I'm giving Matt too much credit for how things turned out for her. Everyone's got their own demons, and maybe she's dealing with something totally unrelated to him. Anyway, aside from seeing Matt and Kyle last week, I don't plan on hanging out with them again anytime soon. I only saw them because I wanted to catch up with some other friends, and they just happened to be there. Commenter. Omar is wasted on this group in that academic community. Commenter 2. True, but Omar is greatly appreciated on Reddit. Reddit loves Omar.